one of my favorite people, Ruthy Otero, who is an actress and also does a lot of one-person shows. And I got together and we just started talking about the business, about acting, and about one-person shows, which I am such a fan of. I hope you enjoy this segment with Ruthy and I, where she discusses acting. So let me just tell you real quick about Ruthy. I met her a couple years ago. She had been a Facebook friend for a while because I had friends who had recommended that I friend her because she was a solo artist and she had a bunch of one-person shows. And every now and then I would see her post on Facebook. And then a couple years ago, Ruthy pops up on my Facebook feed in Russia. Well, I freaked out. I was like, there's a Puerto Rican in Russia. Oh my God, there's a Puerto Rican in Russia. So I started following her. She was just amazing. I was so impressed with her courage to go to a whole nother country. Not only to go there, but she was only there for a couple of days. Her whole purpose was to find strangers to go in their homes so that they could teach her how to cook a Russian dish. And we're going to talk about this a little later, but that is how I met Ruthy, because when she came back, I Facebooked her and said, hey, can we meet for coffee? Because you're really cool. I want to know you. So this is Ruthy Otero.
Hi, Lydia.
Hi,
you.
Ruthy.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm happy to have you, my lovely friend. I want to get right to it.
Okay.
So what I want to talk about first is, what made you want to be an actor?
Honestly, a social studies teacher. I think he was my homeroom teacher when we graduated 8th grade. Oh my God, our celebration was like at a roller skating rink. Okay. And the teacher was just going around telling people what they were going to be. And I was like, what about me? What about me? And he said, oh, movie star. And I was like, what? He's like, oh yeah, I could see that. And that was, I mean, I'm from the Bronx. And I went to a movie star, right? From the Bronx. So then in high school, I saw a classmate freshman year in a play, Damn Yankees, and I just was like, I can do that. I didn't know how I knew I could do that, but I can do that. So I was in honors classes, and my schedule, I had to take like an honors social studies class the same period that the drama class was offered. So I cut class a couple of times, and the drama teacher didn't mind, and she let me do a couple of improvs, and people would clap and laugh, and I didn't know why, but it was like, oh, I can kind of do this. So that got me going, a lot of encouragement. Life just kept encouraging me, like, yeah, you can do this. This is something you can do. And so, yeah, then I, applied to NYU for their drama program. I was accepted there, so doors just kept opening, and I just kept doing it.
And when you were at NYU doing the drama program, which program did you opt in for? Was it
we were assigned,
Strasbourg?
Actually.
Oh.
Yeah, so I auditioned, and then I was assigned to Stella Adler.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I studied with Stella.
Really?
I studied with Stella for 4 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, I got to study with her for 1 year. Our fourth year there is when we got to study with her.
Stella Adler.
Woo! Took 3 years just to get ready for her. She was amazing. She was
was.
amazing. And after studying with her, I haven't studied with many other teachers, because she's just, when she coached the other actors in their scene, it applied to any scene that I was working with, where I find a lot of acting teachers, whatever they're directing scenes. They're not really teaching acting. But anyway, she was just amazing. So I felt very fortunate to be there. So I was like, what? Marlon Brando studied with her? I'm sticking up with her. So in our class, we started out with like 32 people, and by the time we got to her, there was only 14 people left. But
that was the same with me. I love Stella Adler. She was hard on women.
Yeah.
Especially if you were cute, and especially if you were blonde. What I had going for me was that I wasn't cute or blonde.
Oh, stop it, you were
cute. She let me slide, except one time. I don't know if you remember, but she would make everybody, like, she would say something and you'd have to say, yes, Miss Adler.
No, I only remember the standing ovations when she walked in and the standing ovations when she walked out.
Oh, okay. Well, she used to do this thing where she would address the class and say something, and then everybody had to, in unison, go, yes, Miss Adler. So one day she was talking, and she finished. I went, yes, Miss Adler. She looked at me, and she says, do you know where you are? You are in the theater. I was like, okay. And then another time, I had leaned back in my chair, like it was, and she says, do you think you're at the beach? No, Miss Adler, you must have respect for the theater. I was like, yes, Miss Adler. Thank you, Miss Adler. But she was amazing. And every semester, we would have the same thing. You'd have, well, it was out here. It was in LA. It was, and so she would come out here in the summertime and stay at Marlon's house. So she would tell us all about Marlon the day before. I was so excited. So cool. I loved the history because she would just give history about, then she would rag on Strasberg.
Of course.
Oh my! And I was in class with her the day he died, and I thought she's gonna say it, some beautiful thing, because when people die, all of a sudden you feel compelled to say that. She says, "I'm glad he's dead," and I was like, "Yes, Stella, I'm glad you haven't changed your ways." But she did not like him at all.
She's authentic.
Yeah, she did not change.
Real
yeah, she
all
didn't
the way
go.
through.
Someone said, Mr. Strasberg passed away. It's about time.
Oh my God.
She was merciless, but she was an extraordinary teacher. She taught great technique.
Awesome technique, and I learned about life. She elevated everything, even the profession of being an actor, and it just felt very noble, and I was doing something that was valuable and necessary in the world. That's what I got from her. So any scene this isn't just a conversation, this is about society, and it was true.
And the research. She was very much into research.
And costume.
Yes, we couldn't do a scene if we hadn't researched the period. If we didn't research the social situation, the background of the person's job. I remember I had to go to Cedar Sinai and shadow a nurse to know exactly how to do it. She wasn't having that. And I remember one exercise, you had to hold the tree, you had to feel the bark. You had to do all of this before you could get to the scene.
Oh, before you can even walk and talk. You can't even walk and talk and you think you're actors is the mantra that I heard. And we had to describe a leaf and the nature of a leaf. And I remember one scene because it was so humiliating, but I laugh about it now. But I was cooking in the kitchen. So we brought some props. And this is not with Stella. It was to prepare to be seen by Stella. I was coached by Alice Winston. She would rehearse the scenes with us. So I had a carrot stick and I'm cutting it. And this is rehearsal because Alice was really kind of mean. So just scared to be eviscerated. I remember being tense and I'm cutting the carrots and the carrots are flying off the stage, flying. And Alice was like, "The prop does not lie." That is not correct. The way you're using the prop. And it's true, the prop doesn't lie. And I'm just trying to cut it. I should have boiled it first. But it was just so many life lessons, really fundamental that you can carry with you forever, not just situational to the scene. So she was scary. She was scary but amazing. I mean, I feel very blessed to have studied with her.
Stella. So once you finished at NYU, where did you go? What did you do?
So I started auditioning for commercials, and fortunately I was able to get an agent within about a year. And I just started earning. I got my SAG card doing commercials and theater around town. And then because I studied with Stella, she always said, you guys have to produce your own work. Coming from the group theater, they created their own projects, writers, amazing people came out of there. So that was always instilled in me. I took it to heart. And so within 5 years, and it took 5 years because I was terrified. I knew I was supposed to do a one-person show. So I would see them in New York. Oh my God, Lily Tomlin. I just was going to see one-person shows left and right. And then I created my own one-person show. So I was always creating shows, and then I did my second one-person show within 6 months after the first one. So doing my own solo projects. I was working also with a Latino sketch comedy troupe called Sal Soul, and we used to perform at Caroline's Comedy Club, and that was really awesome because they were Latino and they were Latino audiences, and they just loved it. They just loved hearing, saying "Mira, papi." They just laugh because it was oh my God. In Living Color was big at that time, so that was sort of sketch comedy for the Black community. Before John Leguizamo's show, we were that for the audiences. There was just such a thirst to hear their own voices in comedy. So I was writing sketch comedy with that comedy troupe for about 3 years. And that was really awesome. While I was doing sketch comedy in New York, I then got to see Culture Clash. They're from LA, the 3 Chicano guys, perform at the New York and Poets Cafe. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that was possible, which is to do comedy and say something at the same time. So I was sort of the artistic director of South Soul, and I was like, let's do something that says something. And it really wasn't our audience. It didn't really work, and that made me have more of a thirst. I've just got to create my own stuff. So I tried stand-up comedy, and I thought, this is like math and music. And by the time I could be good enough to do a 1-hour show, it'll be years. But I felt like with a solo show, I can make you laugh, I can make you cry, but there's no pressure of like, you gotta give me 4 jokes per minute. And so all of that was sort of brewing and happening that made me go, okay, I just have to do it. My one-person shows.
So while you were doing that, when did you do the short with Vin Diesel?
Oh my goodness, right, that was in the middle of all of that. It was probably before I did my one-woman show, because I was still auditioning for films and stuff. So that was before my one-person show, but I was doing the sketch comedy. Someone recommended me for it. They were like, hey, go to this audition. And I went, and it was in a dark studio, and his producer were very complimentary. Oh, you're so good, you're so good. And I was like, okay, we'll see, because that was at the audition, but you just never know. And then I actually did get cast.
I want to stop and talk about that, because when I was coaching actors and preparing them about branding, because I've done everything, I would do these little workshops where I would let them watch the short that Vin Diesel did, because I felt that he really nailed who he was in that short. For those of you who don't know how Vin Diesel blew up, he put $60,000, saved $60,000, kind of took a page out of Hollywood Shuffle and did a short on the life of an actor going to auditions. And he was really smart to set up the story and position himself in situations that he would be castable in. And at the end of every audition within that short, the people would say to him, "You were great." So when he finished the short, he took it to Sundance. Steven Spielberg saw it because of it being in Sundance and wrote a part in there for him for Saving Private Ryan. And he wore those wife beaters. He did everything that you see him do now. He positioned himself to say, this is how you sell me. And so I would share that with actors and say, you've got to find a way to sell yourself that's as clever as what Vin Diesel did. The first time I watched that short, and I saw you popped out. You were so bright and so cheery, and like I said to you before, I was like, who is this other Latina? I should know her. Because the community is so small that, I always think if I don't know them, there's a problem. Because there's only 2 of us. We should all know each other. Oh, no, I'm exaggerating. But there's
6 of us.
Yeah, 6, 7, maybe. Some days it's 7. But it's not very large.
Right.
I just loved your work in that because it was so honest. And your spirit just radiated through. So every time I saw it, I go, where is that girl? Where is that girl? And then years later, I get to really meet you. I couldn't tell you that I remember anybody else in that piece. You made such an impression.
Thank you.
I'm always like that. I'll watch TV or I'll watch a film and all of a sudden the camera will just love somebody. It's like, oh my God, who is that person? So
that's sweet. Thanks. Yeah, that's the one thing that people will be like, I have a question. Were you in multifacial? It's like, oh, yeah, I was. And it's always surprising. I mean, it's big. I mean, through the years, people always bring it up. Wow, that really got around. But it's a sort of a textbook. I'm sure a lot of film schools bring it up to like how he set himself up this tremendous career with that film. And it was very strategic and simple, right? But it's simple because it was done.
And what was so intriguing was I was going, he took a page from Hollywood Shuffle. We did that 15 years before. And he took that and did it, and it is about creating content. Well, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, please go check out my YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't already. And #KeepCommonSense.